Today I'm bringing you my top 24 SuperFlex Dynasty rankings coming into the 2023 season. Maybe you're new to Dynasty, or maybe you just joined another Dynasty league and you just want to check up on the update on the top 24 players going in the first 2 rounds. So I'm bringing you that today. Make sure you comment down below. Let me know who is deserving to be in the first 2 rounds that is not going in the top 24 right now in a Dynasty startup. And as always, go to flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Rankings, bonus content, articles, and so much more, not only for myself and Zach, but all of the other content creators on the website. Once again, flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. And let's get straight into the rankings. Okay, starting at my 101, I'm going from the 101 all the way down to the 212. There's no surprise here. Patrick Mahomes starting off here at the 101. Finished as a QB1 this past year. Let's not really waste too much time on that. And obviously my QB2 here, Josh Allen, very interchangeable. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, however way you really want to see it and put it. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. Josh Allen, finished QB2 this past year. I mean, what can you say, right? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, no doubt about it. Then you got Joe Burrow, Joe Bags soon. I mean, once he gets paid, he's going to be the new Joe Money Bags Burrow. We call it Joe Money Bag Mixon now, but he's going to be the new Joe Money Bags Burrow. This past year, finished as a QB4, had a phenomenal season. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, phenomenal team. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next couple years and on and so forth. My QB4, Jalen Hurts, which I've kind of been contemplating, should I move him up to my QB3? I'm not necessarily sure right now. I feel a lot more confident in Joe Burrow, just because he's always been he's always been the future, right? He's always been that guy. And yes, we have seen Jalen Hurts step into his own this past year. He gets the bag. His team is stacked. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, right? You got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. This offensive line is phenomenal. The defense is next level. It's kind of hard to really see which way I want to go. Joe Burrow with the passing opportunity is always going to be there, but Jalen Hurts with the rushing opportunity is also a factor. I think this is maybe my QB1A, QB1B, however way you want to put it. QB3A and QB3B, however way you want to put it. That's exactly how it would go. So Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts as my QB4, and at the 104, then that's where we see the tier break here. That's when you go Justin Herbert, another phenomenal quarterback with a phenomenal team. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They just drafted Quentin Johnson, my wide receiver 1, and this offense is just going to continue to get better. This past year, Justin Herbert finished as a QB11. He did miss a lot of his wide receiver 1 weapons. Obviously, Austin Ekeler had a phenomenal year, finishing as a QB1 with 127 targets. That changes now. This offense struggled a little bit this past year. Kellen Moore is coming from the Dallas Cowboys, who has produced a top 5, offense this past couple years with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Justin Herbert is definitely going to be eating in that offense coming into the 2023 season, and so on and so forth. So I like him here at my 105. Excuse me. All right, Lamar Jackson, my QB6. And I think a lot of people would have somebody else over him, which was probably Trevor Lawrence, let's be honest. A lot of people have Trevor Lawrence or Lamar Jackson, however way you want to do that. I'm taking Lamar Jackson with the rushing upside here. I know a lot of people love Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence does have, a rushing upside ability without a doubt, but I see him more as a pocket passer in the future. Lamar Jackson, I think, is a phenomenal pocket passer and a guy that can utilize his legs on the outside. So I'm really happy to be taking Lamar Jackson here as my QB6, and then Trevor Lawrence as my QB7 here, going, acquiring Calvin Ridley, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne. All these guys are going to continue to do something phenomenal coming into the 2023 season. Lamar Jackson, obviously this past year, did miss a lot of time, but Trevor Lawrence finished as a QB8 in 2023. I can either see that getting better. I mean, Lamar Jackson, we all know he can be a top 3, top 5 quarterback. Now, how high is Trevor Lawrence's ceiling? I'm not necessarily sure right now. I feel more comfortable saying that Lamar Jackson can easily finish as a top 3 quarterback. But I think for me, my window for Trevor Lawrence is a top 5, maybe to 8 quarterback, as we saw this past year. So I feel really confident there. Now my next quarterback here, my QB8, Justin Fields. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of people, you know, Zach and I have been really felt like we have been the advocates for Justin Fields in the fantasy community ever since he's gotten drafted. I've always believed in his arm talent. I always believe in his ability to throw the ball, and obviously we've seen him run and use his legs this past year. Justin Fields finished as a QB6, rushing literally on the ground for over 1,100 yards. That is absolutely crazy, throwing for 2,200 yards. Does that even out a little bit, right? Maybe he throws for 3,500 yards and rushes for 800 or rushes for 900. However way that looks like, I think Justin Fields' upside is this QB6, even higher type of quarterback. So I'm really excited about that coming into the 2023 season, and so on and so forth. Let's be honest, this offensive line gets better in them drafting Darnell Wright. The weapons, them acquiring DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, big old Roscoe in the backfield. The defense is going to get phenomenal coming into the 2023 season. I really believe in Justin Fields and his ability to do and step up and be this guy that we are drafting here at the 108 spot in our Dynasty startup. Okay, going into the late first here, this is where I would have Jamar Chase. Normally, people would have Justin Jefferson there. In a Dynasty perspective, I want the longevity with the quarterback with Jamar Chase. As much as I love Justin Jefferson, is he quarterback proof? I would say yes. We just haven't seen it yet. He has started his career with Kirk Cousins. What's going to happen with Kirk Cousins in the future? I'm not necessarily sure. I think no doubt he's on his last year of his contract coming into this year with the Minnesota Vikings. But who's that quarterback that's going to come in to this offense? Can they produce the same amount of fantasy relevancy that we've seen Kirk Cousins produce with Justin Jefferson? So not saying Justin Jefferson is not a cute wide receiver one type of talent. I think I just like Jamar Chase and the longevity with Joe Burrow in a Dynasty perspective when I think of my wide receiver one. So Jamar Chase, my wide receiver one, which is my 109, and Justin Jefferson, excuse me, my wide receiver 2 with my 110. Then you go to my first rookie this year, and that is Bijan Robinson, going to my 111 here. Look, a really phenomenal stat that I saw that I kind of keep repeating. I sound like a broken record probably. Bijan Robinson, you know, the last time we've seen 2 running backs go in the top 12 has been Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, and both of those guys have finished as the top 11 running back in their rookie season. I think Bijan Robinson is easily going to be a top 12 guy, a top 11 guy coming into the 2023 season, and we're going to see a tremendous upside. This the same way we saw Saquon Barkley, the same way we saw Breece Hall. This is the new guy for this year, and that is Bijan Robinson going to the Atlanta Falcons, going to a team that has rushed the ball, you know, top 3 amongst the NFL this past year, and that's going to continue, especially with Desmond Ridder at quarterback, still trying to get the reins underneath him, finding his legs, finding his pace in the NFL. Bijan Robinson, a threat on the ground and in the air. I think it's a phenomenal pick here at the 111. Then we go to my next quarterback. That is Deshaun Watson. Outside of his rookie year and this past year, Deshaun Watson has always been a top 5 quarterback. He goes arguably to the best offense he has probably been with, the best team he has been with, a better offensive line, a better defense, better weapons as a group. Individually, that's a completely different story. Yeah, he had DeAndre Hopkins, but as a group of wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Cedric Tillman, Donovan Peoples-Jones, the group, the core, Nick Chubb, is the best core we've seen for Deshaun Watson in his career, in my personal opinion. So I think he is deserving to go here and be a first-round pick at the 112. I think however way you really want to flip it here, because my next player is a wide receiver, and that's CeeDee Lamb. So look, at this turn here, at the 112 to the 201, you can really have that interchangeable if you really wanted to. But for me, I want to prioritize the quarterback position here at the 112, and then get my wide receiver 3 in CeeDee Lamb. I think another guy I think is really being very disrespected in the Dynasty, not disrespected, excuse me. I think overlooked, undervalued in the Dynasty community. So I guess you can say disrespected in a way. I think CeeDee Lamb does have the ability to be in contention with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. right? CD Lamb this past year finished as a wide receiver 5, 17.7 fantasy points per game this past year. I think that can continue. That can go into the next level, and we can see so much more happening with Dak Prescott. This offense gets better as well. Brandon Cooks kind of opens up the field for him a little bit more. Last year, Michael Gallup struggled in the first half of the season. They try and bring in T.Y. Hilton, but now that they have someone like a Brandon Cooks who you can't keep your eye off of, maybe CeeDee Lamb is going to continue to get double teamed. CeeDee Lamb for the future with Dak Prescott feels very comfortable here as my wide receiver 3. My wide receiver 4 and my 202, Garrett Wilson, a phenomenal talent. Easily going to be playing with the best quarterback he has played with in his career. He's probably going to play with in his career, to be completely honest, with Aaron Rodgers coming in. Apparently, hey, Aaron Rodgers is saying he doesn't want it to be a one-off year. He probably is going to be playing for 2 years. I was kind of predicting he was going to play for 1, so I might be a little bit wrong there. But if Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers can play and pair up for the next 2 years, it's phenomenal. And yeah, you have Allen Lazard there, but there's no true wide receiver 2 that's going to be taking away opportunity away from Garrett Wilson, and I think we can see a massive uptick. We've seen the history with Aaron Rodgers and how he can produce a wide receiver 1 in Davante Adams. I truly believe Garrett Wilson can be in that conversation of talent, of a true wide receiver coming into the 2023 season, and so on and so forth. He is a pillar on your team. So Garrett Wilson here at the 202 for me, which may be a little bit high for some people, to be completely honest with you. But hey, you can kind of build it the way you want. It just really depends on how you feel. My next player here, a wide receiver, A.J. Brown. I'll go with a little wide receiver run here. You know, because yes, I probably already acquired my quarterback. You think of this, you know, the 101, the 102, I probably acquired, maybe I can go with, you know, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, or Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, or maybe I got Justin Fields and then somebody else here. It really depends on how you want to build your team. I really like to focus on these early wide receiver quarterbacks first, as you can see, and then go with the positional value advantage here once you get towards the end of the round. But yeah, A.J. Brown, my wide receiver, technically 5 here coming into this season, finishes the wide receiver 6 like Jalen Hurts, right? Another guy that's with Jalen Hurts, the longevity here. It just feels very comfortable seeing that future, understanding what's going to be happening. I think a lot of people do have A.J. Brown over Garrett Wilson right now, but I'm going with the youth. Look, it's not too massive of a gap. A.J. Brown, 25, 26 years old. Garrett Wilson with 22, 23. So not too big of a gap there, but I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson in the youth and how I really saw him coming in. My wide receiver 1 coming in to that draft class. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, this is where I think it can get a little bit controversial, okay? We've seen so many ways this can go because, you know, there's a quarterback that I'm not too high on, but I understand why people are arguing for it. But my quarterback here at the 204 is Bryce Young. This past year's quarterback 1, drafted at the 101, going to the Carolina Panthers. And I'm believing in this offense. I'm believing in this head coach and regime to really develop Bryce Young to be the talent that we all see him to be and really project him to be. I like Bryce Young here. He was one of the only quarterbacks I can truly take. Not truly take, excuse me, but he was one of the quarterbacks I truly believe can be a superstar out of this class. I truly believe genuinely all 3 of these quarterbacks could be superstars. I was a lot higher in CJ Stroud coming into the season, but going with Bryce Young here, landing with the Carolina Panthers, who overall talent has never been the problem. It was always, where's the landing spot going to be? And he goes to, in my opinion, one of the best landing spots for a quarterback with the Carolina Panthers and this head coaching regime. So I'm taking Bryce Young here at the 204. Then you go to the next quarterback I kind of spoken about, Anthony Richardson. The upside is phenomenal. Top 4 pick going to the Indianapolis Colts here. I think it is a great pick. Now his rushing upside, that's kind of what we're projecting here. Is he going to have a Justin Fields X type of rushing upside? Maybe not 1,100 yards. Maybe does he get 800, 900 yards in his rookie year? It doesn't have a phenomenal passing year, but we can develop. I think that is just what's so exciting about Shane Steichen coming into this organization with Anthony Richardson, that he can develop him and become this Jalen Hurts X type of project, Josh Allen S type of project, and really see him going into the end of the first, even mid first, coming into the 2024 year. So that is a massive projection. Anthony Richardson here, my 205 going into the next round. I'm going to continue with my quarterback run. I think this is where it gets controversial. Tua Tags here, my 206. This is a quarterback that I truly believe if he didn't get injured, we will be having a conversation of Tua going in the late first. Genuinely. He was on pace for 5,200 yards. He is on one of the best offenses with one of the best wide receiver groups in the National Football League with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. This offense only is going to get better. A great offensive line, a great defense. I don't see how this team gets worse. Now, yes, the concussion concerns is a problem, but I would truly say that is the same risk a lot of people saw in Jalen Hurts, right? Not in the injury standpoint, but maybe on the field issues. Well, does he have the touch? Does he have that? I think we saw what we needed to see from Tua. We saw the talent was there. We saw him being able to produce fantasy relevant wide receivers in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Can he stay on the field? I am betting that he is going to be staying on the field. And granted, concussions are not the easiest by far injuries in the NFL for anyone. But I'm really hoping and believing that Tua Tags is going to figure out a way to stay on the field, to stay healthy, and to hopefully not get concussions as often in his career. And if that is truly the case, which they did pick up his 5th-year option, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, I can look it up here. But they picked up his 5th-year option. And if he does produce the way that he was producing in the first half of the season before his injuries and his concussions, I can easily see a 3-year contract extension here for Tua Tags and being, in the contention of being a contender for this team. This teams are contenders, but we're not really seeing Tua Tags in that light. He's still a very young quarterback, someone that I truly believe can be phenomenal. Look, Tua this past year didn't have a great finish, right? Finished as QB 15, but the first half of the season, he was a top 5 quarterback. The second half of the season, when he came back in the middle half of the season, he was also a top 5 quarterback. Then the second half, he was dealing with those concussions in and out of games. Once again, on pace for 5,200 yards. He was on pace without those concussions to finish as a top 5, top 8 quarterback. So I think we'll be having a different conversation. We would have been having a different conversation if it wasn't for those concussions. And I haven't seen, the question marks about Tua, because he was one of the most efficient quarterbacks this past year in deep ball passes and yards per throw, etc., etc. I brought him in so many videos in our Dynasty and Redraft channel. There's no conversation and no worry in the fantasy community about his talent, just on the concussions. So if that's truly it, then I think we should be looking at Tua in this light. But I think the real reason why this is controversial is because who I'm taking him over. That's Kyler Murray. I'm not anti-Kyler Murray. I'm not. I'm really not. I've always respected him in the talent and how he always produced his fantasy points. But someone that tears his ACL, not saying that he can't come back to that form, and not saying there's not going to be a point where I probably I can easily see myself taking Kyler Murray over Bryce Young, over Tua, over Anthony Richardson, and saying we know the history of Kyler Murray finishing as a QB, top 3 quarterback in the past. But my biggest concern is, what does this team look like? DeAndre Hopkins is no longer there. Yes, Hollywood Brown's there. What does that rushing upside look like for Kyler Murray as well? I mean, we've seen the history with Kyler Murray and how he has produced in the running game. And I'm a bit worried that what happens if that ACL kind of changes him, right? Look at in 2021, he rushed for 423 yards on the ground. In 2022, I'm pretty sure that QB2 or QB1 year, 819 yards on the ground. So now, is that rushing upside limited coming into this year or next year because it's a mental hurdle? But hey, I know there's another argument. Well, he'll be another year removed from that injury. So look, anything can happen. I'm willing to have a conversation. I'm willing to move Kyler Murray even higher. So keep that in mind. My next guy here at the 208, that is CJ Stroud. And I believe in CJ. All three of these quarterbacks, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, can easily finish and beat the talents that we all project them to be. I like CJ Stroud as a talent overall. He was my QB1 coming into the year, but I truly believe landing spot is a factor here. And with Bryce Young going to one of the best organizations, one of the best head coaching staffs that we've seen for a quarterback, and same thing with Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud kind of has the back seat when it comes to the head coaching advantage, but the talent is there. Maybe I need to, situation over talent for sure. That's definitely an argument. But for me, I can't argue with the situation. I can't put the situation over the talent right now based on Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. And maybe that's a flaw in my works, but we've all had this conversation already in the fantasy community. But I still believe in CJ Stroud as much as I believe in Bryce Young. All right, at the 209, got a couple minutes here. Breece Hall, foundational running back without a doubt, my RB2 in my rankings here, and he's going to continue to do his thing once he's back from this ACL. It may not be this year. It may be next year. We've seen the history with these running backs. Saquon Barkley coming off an ACL, didn't get the workload the year after. We've really only seen 2 running backs in NFL history really come back from an ACL the year after and produce, and that's Adrian Peterson, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jamal Charles. Everyone else, we haven't seen a top 30 finish outside of Saquon Barkley the year after. I think that's tough. And Saquon Barkley was the RB30. It's kind of hard for me to really predict where he's going to be coming into this year, but the longevity, I'm excited for Breece Hall as a running back. I think we've been robbed of a year from Breece Hall, but he was phenomenal coming into the first half of the season. Jalen Waddle, coming into this year as well, a phenomenal wide receiver that I cannot wait to get my hands on as well. Look, this is the longevity, right? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, but he is a younger wide receiver. He did struggle when Tua did miss time. We saw Tyreek Hill finish as a wide receiver 1 this past year, but hey, Jalen Waddle also finished as a top wide receiver, as a wide receiver 8 coming into this year. That was with Tua tags, really giving him that foundation, averaging 15.2 fantasy points per game. That's going to continue if obviously Tua tags stays healthy. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a phenomenal wide receiver. He is the foundation, honestly, the wide receiver 1 on this team, and this team only gets better, which is going to open up more passing abilities, more slot opportunities for Amon-Ra. Phenomenal year this past year, finished as a wide receiver 7. He did miss a couple games. He probably would have finished as a top 5 wide receiver if he didn't miss time coming into this year. Chris Olave is my last guy at the 212. A phenomenal wide receiver, now getting a better quarterback in Derek Carr, who has produced fantasy relevant wide receivers in the past, and Amari Cooper, Devontae Adams this past year, Hunter Renfrow a couple years prior, and I think that's going to continue here with Chris Olave having a more stable, more consistent quarterback compared to the quarterbacks he's had in his rookie year. And a couple honorable mentions that I really wanted to talk about here. Jonathan Taylor, I think I'm a little bit off on JT coming into Dynasty. He is my RB5 coming into this, my RB6. I'm really interested to see what Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson are going to do this year. I think Anthony Richardson is going to take a lot of rushing upside and goal line opportunities away from Jonathan Taylor. But maybe I'm just overthinking it right now. Probably one of the most efficient running backs on the ground. But I think Anthony Richardson, especially with Shane Steichen, is going to produce and give Anthony Richardson a lot more opportunities on the ground coming in. I think Dak Prescott is also an honorable mention here. You can definitely get Dak Prescott at that turn. Hypothetically, you get Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott falls to you with JT, or Patrick Mahomes, Chris Olave, Dak Prescott. That's a phenomenal start the way you want to do that. And then Travis Etienne. I mean, what can you do with Travis? I think it might be a little bit too early at the early third there, but maybe more of a middle type of third player. But these are some honorable mentions that I know a lot of people would like to talk about. I think a lot of people would like to talk about Mark Andrews. I think could be an honorable mention. T. Higgins can also be an honorable mention, and maybe even a Drake London, or Devonta Smith. So hey guys, let me know what you think of my rankings, my top 24 rankings. Let's have a conversation. Comment down below any questions you have or concerns, or saying, hey, I really think you're kind of off on this, or not. I say, yo, I like what you did. But as always, guys, comment down below, drop a like, drop a comment, and as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.